It is remarkably easy to love an aloe a little too much. And that's not a failure, that's a beginning. My grandmother kept the same aloe alive on this windowsill for over 20 years. She never once cared for it. She just knew 5 small things, and that, somehow, was enough. In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn 5 quiet things she knew about aloe. And maybe, just maybe, one small thing she knew about you. You don't grow aloe. You live with her. Somewhere around minute 4.5, there will be 5 seconds when nothing is said at all. They will be the most important 5 seconds of this video. So before we start, pour the tea first, then we'll begin. It's okay. They don't need our anxiety. They just need a little space. We'll walk through 5 things in 3 small chapters. The place, where she rests. The rhythm, how she breathes. And the release, what we do when she finally outgrows us. There is no rush in any of this, so if your tea is still steaming, good. We'll go slowly together. She always stood her aloe in the corner of the kitchen, where the morning light came soft and slow. She never turned the pot to chase the sun. She let the plant find its own rhythm with the day. When an aloe stretches thin and reaches sideways, we tend to call it sick. She used to call it tired. A sunburned plant, she'd say, is just a plant that forgot how to rest. So she'd move it gently, closer to the morning window, and start again. She always kept her aloe on the highest shelf, not as a rule, but as a kindness. She knew that under its tough skin hides a yellow sap called latex, rich in saponins, which isn't friendly to the curious paws and tummies of our cats and dogs. She had a habit I never understood as a child. She'd touch the soil with one finger, pull it back, and then walk away to brew herself another cup of tea, and leave the watering can exactly where it was. She said it once, very quietly, "You don't water memories. You visit them." Once a month, she also used to send the water from her fishbowl to the windowsill. The fish, she said, had already done the fertilizing for her. The aloe never asked for more. She tried rice rinse water once when a neighbor recommended it. The soil began to smell sour by the 2nd week. She rinsed the pot, smiled, and never tried again. Some hacks, she'd say, the aloe simply doesn't ask for. I once saw an aloe in her kitchen that had grown thin and tall, pale at the edges, what gardeners now call leggy. She didn't try to fix it. She moved it closer to a brighter window and gently took the youngest pup from its base. The leggy stems she left to rest. That was care too. When the soil grew heavy, she didn't replace it. She'd take a small handful of perlite, those tiny white stones that look like crumbs of old snow, and scatter them on top. Then she'd lift the pot very gently and shake it once. Just once, to let the earth breathe again. Roots, she told me, breathe the way you do, quieter than you think. They don't need pressure, they need space. She mixed her soil at 1 part potting mix to 2 parts of those small white stones. Not because she measured, because she'd done it so often her hand simply knew. She had one more habit when the air turned dry. She'd let the roots drink slowly from the bottom, water rising into the pot instead of falling onto it. But every few months she sent a cleansing rain from above to wash away whatever the bottom had quietly kept. When a new leaf began to rise from the center, barely the height of her little finger, she didn't measure it. She didn't take a photograph. She didn't tell anyone. She just looked at it once in the morning light. And then she let it grow. Trust the leaf, she'd say, not the calendar. A neighbor once asked her if a single fallen leaf could grow into a new aloe. She thought for a moment, then shook her head. No. An aloe leaf alone, she said, doesn't carry the small hidden seed of new life inside it. For a new aloe, you wait for the pups, the small ones at her base. Or you let her go to seed. There's no shortcut. There's also no shame. And when an aloe grew so large her pot could no longer hold her, 8, 9 years on the same windowsill, she didn't panic. She loosened the roots with her fingers, divided the family gently, and accepted that some leaves would turn red or brown for a week or two. That, she said, was just the plant remembering where she used to be. There came a day every few years when she'd lift one of the small pups from her aloe, wrap it in a folded paper towel, and carry it next door. The neighbor would always smile. The aloe never seemed to mind. And our windowsill stayed full anyway. You don't rescue her, she'd tell me. You share her. When a kitten came into our home one summer, she didn't reach for any spray. She just moved the aloe from the low shelf to the top of the bookcase, far from the sofa, far from the small cat's leaping place. Some things, she said, you simply rearrange. You don't argue with the curious. When you leave her alone, you're not neglecting her. You're finally speaking her language. Those are the 5 quiet things she knew about aloe. But there is one more thing. Small, almost easy to miss. She also knew about you. Place her near the morning. Visit, don't pour. Let the roots breathe. Trust the leaf, not the calendar. And when she outgrows you, share her, don't rescue her. Can a plant teach you how to rest? She did. And now, so can you. You don't grow aloe. You live with her. If your aloe is still alive after watching this, leave a small green cactus in the comments. That's all. Happy gardening and happy resting.